Welcome back to another episode of the Social Media Millionaire podcast. I'm really excited for this episode because it has been very highly requested from so many of you on TikTok, especially. When I was going TikTok live last week, I was chatting with everyone that was on about what podcast episodes you guys really wanted to see, and this was the number one. So today we're going to be diving in and unpacking how to do a self-audit of one of your TikTok videos, what analytics specifically you should be looking for, how to leverage those analytics effectively, and then we're also going to dive into your account analytics and understand what data it is that you really need to be collecting, specifically with TikTok, so that you can get a really great understanding of what it is that's happening with your audience. What decisions are they making? How are they reacting and responding to your content, the optimization of your profile, and ultimately, how can you tweak and refine what it is that you're doing to drive a better conversion rate, drive more traffic to your social media, and ultimately increase your revenue? So, the very first thing that I look at, especially when I am doing an audit on one of our clients' social medias, is I'm looking at the watch time. I want to know what percentage of people actually watched the entire video all the way through, and I want to know where people were actually dropping off in the video. What this is going to allow you to do is go to that point of the video where you have a really high drop off, where your watch time drops off, and you're able to essentially assess what happened at that point in the video that caused people to drop, so that you can go ahead and edit and refine as you move forward. Some of the top things that I see as the reason that people drop that drives watch time down is typically the fact that either your hook wasn't effective, that you need better editing, or that you need to be delivering more specific information that's really going to get your audience to self-identify with what it is that you're talking about. So that's watch time. Then retention rate is really great to get yourself some context so that you have an understanding of how many people are actually watching the entirety of your video. And if you have a really small completion rate, that's going to give you a lot of clues as to what's happening with the video, your audience's interest in that topic, and ultimately how your video is going and your content is going to continue to perform. If you can't get people to watch your entire video, you're certainly not going to get people to make an investment with you. The other thing that I'm looking at is saves and shares. So shares are directly correlated to watch time, because when you're sharing a piece of content, obviously you're sending it to another person to watch, and people are more likely to watch a video that was shared with them versus just a random video on their For You page. So if you can get and create content that's going to be super shareable, and then saves also go into this, if it's something that's really bite-sized, bingeable, and is going to be something that people want to refer back to, that is also going to be key in giving you clues as to whether or not your topics are dialed in, whether or not you're speaking to the right things, and ultimately, again, what is going on with your content. All of these analytics are literally the roadmap to improving and refining your content's performance if you know how to leverage them. Now, the next thing that I pay a lot of attention to in terms of engagement metrics is actually your comments. Now, I'm not super interested specifically in how many comments you're getting. Of course, if you're getting no comments and your audience isn't saying anything and reacting, there's no engagement with what you're putting out, that in and of itself is data and information that you need to take into consideration. If people are not commenting, ultimately what that tells me is that you are not triggering an emotional response with your content to get people to comment one way or another, positive or negative, agreeing, disagreeing, or even asking for more information. You are not doing your job in bringing people into your content and really getting them to want to engage and triggering that emotional response that's going to drive engagement. So that's a gap that you have in your content if you're not seeing any engagement happening. Now, in terms of what people are commenting, that is what I'm most interested in. And this is going to give you a ton of information and insight into not only what people are interested in, but also potentially what types of buyers are really prominent in your audience. If you're getting a lot of questions asking you how you did something, that is a really good indicator that obviously people are interested in what it is that you're sharing, and what you're talking about is a problem that they have that they want you to teach them to solve. Now, if you're getting a lot of comments that are just agreeing with you and are like, wow, great information, thanks, it means likely that you're creating consumers of your content. You're not creating customers for your business. And so that tells me that you're leaning too much into the educational style content, giving away tips and tricks and just telling people stuff, rather than actually leveraging sales psychology to illuminate what the gap is in their understanding to get them to want to buy from you. And it all comes back to what I always talk about, which is the conversion equation. If you can hit home to, number one, someone's current reality and connect with the symptoms that they are experiencing at that point in time, and number two, what their desired outcome is, and you talk about that and can create and illustrate that in a really tangible way. And then number three, being able to highlight and help them understand what the gap is in their understanding or in their strategy or in their system that's keeping them stuck with those current symptoms that they have, and not allowing them to break into that desired result and have that outcome and transformation that ultimately they want. So when you're able to do that through your content and position yourself as what is going to bridge that gap, that is what is ultimately going to drive a sale. So when you are looking at your comment section and you're seeing a lot of people that are just like, wow, great information, you are not doing your job. And I would venture a guess that you're not seeing a ton of conversions coming through from your content. And then in terms of understanding what type of buyers are in your audience based off of what comments people are leaving, you can tell based off of the communication style and the way people are commenting, similar to how you would be able to tell what someone's buyer type is from their DMs. So if someone's long-winded and they're super excited, they're using a lot of emojis, that tells me it's probably an expressive buyer. If somebody is specifically asking for data and stats, that tells me we're dealing with an analytical buyer, right? So there's a lot of information that can be gleaned from your comment section, everything from what people are interested in market research around the questions that people have, all the way to the way your content's being received and whether or not it's doing your job, and even what type of buyers you have prominently consuming your content. Now, when it comes to looking at the overall analytics from your profile, there's really only a few things that I'm super interested in, and this is going to require you to do just a little bit of math, okay? So the first thing that I'm looking at is total weekly, monthly, and quarterly views. So on all of your content that you posted, how many total views did you get? Now, from that, you're going to be able to look at your profile visits for that given amount of time. Here's where the math comes in. You need to determine what your conversion rate is from your content to your profile. So we need to know and assess if people are watching your videos from the amount of views that you are getting on the For You page. Are people, and what percentage of people are seeing your content and then coming to your profile to learn more? Are they coming to binge? And then this brings us to our next point. Are they coming and clicking through the link in your bio and going and taking other actions that you want them to take? If you find that you're getting hundreds of thousands of monthly views, but you're only getting a really small amount of profile visits, you know that your content isn't doing your job in bringing people from the content over to your profile. And so that's the very first gap. You're obviously not going to be making sales or getting a ton of applications if people aren't even clicking from your content to your profile. Now, the second little bit of math that you're going to need to do is next determine from the amount of profile views that you're getting and the amount of link clicks that you're getting, what is the conversion rate from your profile over to the link in your bio. Because if people are coming to your profile and then bouncing, that also tells me that there's an optimization issue with your profile where it's either not authoritative enough, it doesn't speak directly to what it is that they're going to get out of being there, or it's hitting home to the wrong things and so people are leaving. If you don't have a really clearly well-defined journey, a call to action, some sort of authority statement on your profile, then it's likely that you're going to have a pretty low conversion rate from your profile over to your link, because that's kind of the final step where people come to check you out, see what you're about after they've seen your content before going and exploring more in your business. If you're not keeping their attention and keeping your hold on them and really being so specific with what it is that you do and making your content and your profile super easy for them to navigate, you're probably going to have a pretty low conversion from your profile to your link, which again means that you're not going to be making the amount of sales that you want to be making. So your link clicks should tell you your profile conversion rate. And then of course you want to have a good understanding, and this goes beyond social media, but you want to have an understanding of what your conversion rate is on your website or your link in your bio. So that's a whole other thing for another episode, but that is something that you'll want to take into consideration as well when you're looking at the analytics across your profile, your conversion rate, and all of that good stuff. Another thing that you really want to correlate with your analytics is what days did you get a high amount of applications or sales or even high volume of traffic on your website, and what did you post and what was trending on those days. So TikTok is awesome because it shows you what's trending during that week and how your past videos are still continuing to grow inside your analytics and insights. So having a good grasp on that information is going to give you important data, because maybe your videos that you posted this week didn't do super well, but you have a video from a month ago that's still gathering traffic and doing really well. And so if you know that that video does really good, then what you can do is double down on that, double down on the style of content, the topic of content. You can leverage it by stitching that same video and using a hook that you already know is effective and then going deeper. You can recreate that video. You can go deeper. You could create a series. And another great thing to do is to go back and revitalize some of those videos that you know converted really well for you by using the comments and responding, doing comment reply videos to those comments that were on those. So looking back at those trending videos, it's going to give you a lot of context beyond just what you posted to understand what's performing well, what is driving those clicks, that engagement, those sales, and it's going to allow you to be able to replicate that. Because the point of all of this, the point of looking at your data and really understanding what it's telling you, is to be able to edit and refine your strategy, what you're doing, what you're posting, the way that you're creating, the way that you're editing, and ultimately be able to have a grasp on controlling your revenue so that you can replicate, refine, and grow and scale the amount of sales that you're creating from your organic social media. It all comes from making data-driven decisions. So once we've gathered all of this information, let's talk about actually taking it and refining your content so that it's going to be helpful for you to continue to increase the performance of your videos. So if you have a low watch time, I mentioned this previously, often you need a better hook, okay? You need to actually grab people's attention, bring them into your video, and keep their attention. So hooking them in is important. That's going to keep them there those first 3 to 5 seconds of the video, pique their interest, and get them to want to watch the rest. But if you're going to keep them around, one, you have to get to the point. Don't keep reiterating the same thing. I see people ramble so often in their short form content, and it drives their performance down because people already heard what you said it once. You don't need to say it 6 more times. Keep things concise and clear and to the point, and make sure that you're using the words that your ideal clients would use to describe their symptoms and problems to you. So you kind of want to flow through a process in your video where you hook people in, you state some sort of opinion, or you frame the video to be activating to whichever type of buyer you're wanting to reach. You present your solution, and then you give some sort of a subliminal call to action somewhere within the video. If you're following that framework, the next step is to look at the editing. So is the sound quality good? Is the visual quality and lighting good? Having bad audio quality is one of the number one things that will get people to scroll. And if you're in a dimly lit place, if you don't look professional, not saying that you have to absolutely look your best every single time you show up on social media, but you need to take into consideration, again, like the archetype of your brand. Who is it that you're trying to reach? What are your vision? What are your values? What do you want to portray on social media? And so you really want to make sure that that branding is consistent through your videos. And that's not necessarily just like the color of text on the screen, but making sure that the vibe, the feel, the delivery of your videos is the same as what it is that you're wanting to portray across your website, across your other social platforms. One final tip I'd give you about editing is make sure that there's no pause at the beginning of the video. Good old millennial pause. That will cost you views and so much traffic right off the bat because people aren't going to sit there and wait for you to start talking. And if you have pauses throughout the video, that's also going to drive your performance down. Another thing that I would really look at when it comes to editing your video is having different jump cuts, zoom in, zoom out, create motion, film in single clips, and really just create different things that are going to draw people's attention, keep their attention, and have that pattern interrupt to stop them from scrolling in the first place, but then also to keep them on your video and keep them engaged. It's not just what you're saying, it's also how you say it. So the energy and the delivery, the way that you show up, again, the lighting, the editing, the quality, all of those things, not only the algorithm, but the viewer is taking into consideration subliminally as they're consuming your video. People are going to pass judgment on you within the first like couple seconds of finding your video. And so you want to make sure that you are showing up and delivering content with authority, acting like you actually want to be there and like you're not afraid of your own reflection when you are creating content. It's really important that you show up with an authoritative air and poise about you if you want people to take you seriously and ultimately invest high ticket in your offers. Now, the next thing to consider is if you have a low completion rate, what we need to do is, again, look at the video, look at why people could be leaving, and you need to put yourself in the perspective of the viewer when you're auditing your own content. So take yourself out of being you. Assume that it's somebody that has never seen you before, has absolutely no idea what you're talking about. How can you make it applicable to as many people as possible while still being zeroed in on your ideal client? And you want to make sure that, again, the editing, the style, the energy, and the content concept itself of the video is going to be engaging enough to keep people there for the entire duration of the video. And if you're really struggling with that, maybe consider shortening up the video and make sure that you're not repeating yourself, like I said, over and over when you're filming. If you need to literally write down a script and stick to it, it's better to do that than to ramble on forever. And the final thing to look at is going back to your profile optimization. What about your profile is causing people not to click through at the rate that they potentially should be? And what is maybe getting them to bounce from your profile or not binge your content? So this can be anything from not having clear titles on your videos, so it's not easily navigatable. You're shooting yourself in the foot if you don't have playlists enabled and curated on your TikTok account. And again, it's important that you really show up through your optimization of your account with authority so that people know exactly what they're going to get from you and why they should listen to you. That's going to be key. You need to provide some sort of context as to why you're an authority and why people should listen to you in the first place. So when it comes to ultimately refining your content, the most important thing is watch time. If people are not watching the entirety of your video, then the algorithm is not going to push it out to new people. To give you a little bit of context into the way the algorithm works is essentially, obviously TikTok's a business, right? right? They want to make money, and the way they make money is by keeping people on the platform so that they can show people ads, right? So when you think about it, if you are creating a video that people only watch 2 to 3 seconds of, you're not helping TikTok keep people on the platform longer. So there's no reason for them to be incentivized to show your video to more people. Whereas if you create a video and people watch the entire thing, that tells TikTok that this is a video that people are interested in. If people are engaging with it, that is going to tell them, hey, this is a good video. This is going to keep people on the platform. And therefore, this video is going to make us money. When you help TikTok make money, they reward you with your videos being pushed out to more people. Everything that you do when it comes to creating content should be geared towards grabbing people's attention, getting them to self-identify, and really filling in what that gap is between where they are and where they want to be in a way that's going to be engaging, entertaining, and insightful to them so that they actually stick through and watch the entire video. If you can't get people to watch a 30-second video on TikTok, you're going to have a very hard time getting people to invest thousands of dollars to work with you. And the final question I want you to ask yourself, what about my content makes people want to pay me to solve their problems? If you can't answer that question, or if you kind of notice that there's some gaps in your content, in your strategy, in even the way that it's being edited and delivered, that is going to give you a lot of things to work on and refine to improve the performance of your content. So this was definitely a fun episode for me to record. I know, like I said, that it was very highly requested, so I'm excited to bring this one to you. If you have any questions for me about your content, about creating content, editing your content, auditing your content, be sure to slide into my DMs. I'm always so excited to talk with you guys. So be sure to subscribe to the podcast, leave a review. I know that there's somebody that could benefit that you know from this episode. So be sure to share it as well. I will see you on the next episode. Thanks for being here.